read all 7 books and seen all 8 films. Hopefully not all in one sitting. Now, it's time to play the adventure. Become your favorite characters. Team up with a friend. Work together to unlock secrets. And master spells to enhance your wizardry. Explore new locations. And help Harry defeat Lord Voldemort and his dark forces. Lego Harry Potter, years 5 through 7.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. I'm Carlos Perone, and today we are exploring part 2 of the Lego video game special. Returning to us once again is James, Kyle, and Amanda, who will continue to discuss some of the other Lego video games that are out there, including the Pirates of the Caribbean game, the Harry Potter series of games, and the future of where this whole Lego video game thing is going, including some of the games we wish they would come out with one day. So let's jump right in, exactly where we left off last week. What's the next franchise?
Really, the next franchise was Harry Potter, but in between the 2 Harry Potters that are going to be out there, they made Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, Pirates of the Caribbean had, at that point, 4 movies, like Indiana Jones, but instead of reinventing the wheel, they went back to what worked in the Star Wars style, and they
storytelling
they made 4 separate movie stories with 6 different hubs, with 6 different adventures, from the movie, and then they added some various other locations and Easter eggs. And I think that was as good as the first Indiana Jones and Batman.
Wow.
Like I said, while the first Indiana Jones wasn't a home run, Batman and Pirates of the Caribbean are probably as good as it gets with these Lego games, because it's self-contained. You're not worried about any 5th movie yet or anything. Everything that they included worked, and the surprises were genuine surprises.
And you didn't feel like at the end you were left hanging that you were missing something.
No, like I said, if the first Indy had that 4th movie, it probably would have been as good as Batman and Star Wars to a degree. But this had everything you wanted, and the way the characters acted and the way the environment worked was the right way.
Were there any trademark moves or trademark things that you'd never seen before, especially to this franchise, to this film?
Yeah, and you know what it is? It makes it really interesting. Johnny Depp has a certain way of conducting himself, especially as Captain Jack Sparrow. So when this character runs, he has
into it?
the Johnny Depp run, and he moves. And,
even though you don't hear dialogue.
You just hear his grunts or his sighs or things like that, and the other characters as well. His signature moves are translated into this. And like I said, that it's almost perfect. If there were more movies, maybe it'd be better, but I got everything I wanted.
So the last franchise we're going to cover is the Harry Potter one, which is a kind of like a 2-parter if you think about it, right?
The best part about that is they broke it up. It was pretty much known this is a 2-part series.
It was planned out.
The first was book 1 through 4, or year 1 through 4, and you knew the other movies had to come out, and they weren't even finished yet. I don't even think when this game first came out, movie 6 and 7, which was a 2-parter, so you had 3 more environments to include in a game. So the first half follows the story, and it's more whimsical.
And it's the old style of storytelling, like you said.
Everything is the right way. The hub is Hogwarts.
They learned their lesson. They're not going back to that.
And in fact, they made it a little bit better, because in addition to Hogwarts, there were other areas you could go to find things. And that's something they've included into later games like Pirates of the Caribbean and like Lego Star Wars 3. But you knew what you were getting into. The trouble is, because the first 4 movies build into more drama and darkness, the early parts are learning magic, and your Lego characters are learning magic the same way. So some of the action is basically just moving things with your wand.
Not real
breaking
fighting or
things.
anything, just learning.
Yeah, there's really nobody to fight. There's some things in the movies that if you know the stories, you know what's happening, and you know where it's going, whether you're fighting a troll or you're fighting a 3-headed dog or things like that. But there wasn't as much action, and a lot of people felt it was a little boring. The people who I know played it, who are big fans of this format, felt that you were basically learning magic just like the characters.
Right. What do you remember about the Harry Potter game, Amanda?
It's really fun because you learn how to plant mandrakes, They're like the plants that look like
The
screaming babies.
things? Oh.
And they're all dirty and gross and stuff.
Yeah.
And you have to find a closet that has little headphones inside. So you put them over your ears so that it doesn't damage your ears with the babies with the little
And
screaming
you
thing.
find that funny?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And you see, that's the difference between an adult playing a game that's made for children, basically, or young people, and an actual young person. That kind of stuff goes over well. And I think that's some of the same problem with the Clone Wars game. And some of the things that I didn't like in some of these games were successful with kids. And I've read stories afterwards, reviews, depending on who wrote the review. When it's an adult gamer who writes the review,
Right.
these are the things that I've mentioned bug them. When a younger person who the game is probably tailored
Right.
to, they love it.
That
And
stuff
that's
stays in their minds and it sticks to them.
yeah,
and
that
they
remember
works.
that. And so for the designers, that's probably what they want. They want to hear the kids loving it. And if the adult gamers, well, maybe this game isn't for them, they probably say.
Well, I'm sure it's a balancing act, just like toys. You know, you're dealing with the collector versus the kid.
Yeah.
In the video game, same thing. Is it the kid or is it the more adult teenagery or more adult?
So I'm glad to hear at least they'll keep making these games if the kids are liking them. If people like me like them, then they'll turn into like more hardcore adult games and then won't be fun anymore.
Okay, now, Kyle, what did you think of Harry Potter? Is this a Wii game?
Yeah, it's a Wii game, but I didn't really like it.
I did.
We haven't gotten past the second movie yet. It
I
just
liked it.
it was just so hard. Like we spent pretty much all of our time playing the game trying to defeat the giant ogre that's in the bathroom. Because there was like almost no way to defeat it, and then we figured out that you had to take their club while they're beating you with it.
But did you feel that you were spending too much time learning things, like James was talking about?
Yeah,
it?
like that.
So you like more of the action, fighting
Yeah.
stuff, and
Yeah,
it spent too much time
this
learning.
was a waste
That's
of
not
money,
how you
I
def-
thought.
That's not how
Blowing
you
up
defeat
stuff
the-
seems to be
not how
what
you
we really
defeat
want
the
in these
troll.
games. And this one was less about blowing things up and more about lifting
Learning
things with your
to use the
wand
magic.
or learning how to do magic.
How about you, Amanda? Did you like more of the learning magic stuff or the fighting stuff?
No, I like both.
Okay, that's good.
Now, the one thing I haven't mentioned, which maybe I shouldn't, is I have not been able to play these games successfully without the cheat book.
Oh.
And now it's made for young people, and a lot of these games are probably supposed to be played without the cheat book. And I think you could do the story mode. I think that I could
getting
do.
codes online, I guess.
Well, the
That
codes aren't as big in this. There are codes to get characters, but if you play the game thoroughly, you're going to get the characters anyway. That's just a quicker way to get it. So that's not like in some games where you get the codes, it opens up stuff. It just gives you a character sooner. You still have to buy it, and if you don't have the money, you can't. But I found Harry Potter did not make a cheat book, and that's why I liked the actual game less, because I didn't really know what was
couldn't-
going on.
okay.
In some cases, like Kyle said, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to use? There's stuff here, but we just didn't get it. And I found I had to find online help.
Yeah. But you're supposed to just, I guess, try everything, and that takes you weeks and weeks of
I
play
think
time.
that's probably the theory. You're not
supposed to-
supposed to use cheat books. Now, I know a lot of games, adult games, war games, all of them, make these, I don't even know if they call them cheat books anymore. They may be called hint books or strategy guides. Actually, strategy
guide
guides
sounds
is a
good.
nice way to say I figured out like some movement. And some of the fighting games I know they make that you have to learn, X, triangle, circle, whatever. But these games are probably meant not to be played with a cheat book. But I found with Harry Potter, since I didn't have it, I was lost sometimes.
How about you, Kyle? Did you use the cheat books?
Well, I don't have any cheat books really for anything. I've done pretty much everything without a cheat book. The only thing that I had to use cheat codes for was Lego Star Wars 3. That way I can unlock my favorite characters, and also that way you can unlock Sabajo Press, which you have to unlock only with a cheat code. That's the only way
But
can
did you
unlock it.
finish Harry Potter, or you kind of gave up on it?
No, I gave up on
See,
it.
that's the thing.
And
if
I
you
tried
want to
something
finish
too.
these games 100%, and I don't know, sometimes that's not people's goal. I kind of like to want to get the 100% finished. And there are little things, there are little challenges that you have to actually have some sort of understanding on where they are or how how they're hidden. And if you're not trying to get the 100% and finish the game completely, then you probably don't need the cheat book.
Okay.
With the cheat code thing, like it doesn't have its own cheat book, and you have to find it out online. It's sort of like a computer game where there's this website that shows exactly how to complete each level, and
So that's kind of like using a cheat book if you're going to a website that tells you how to do things.
but
Ah,
I think it's actually from the company that makes it.
really?
I can't tell
I
though.
don't know about that. Now, Amanda.
Now, coming up, there's a second Harry Potter game that we haven't mentioned.
Yay.
Right, but hold on. Let me just find out one thing. How did you feel about this Harry Potter game? Did you like? Because Kyle's not too crazy about it.
I like it.
You like it? Now, out of all the games that we talked about today, which one's your favorite?
Harry Potter.
Wow. So I guess you're pretty happy that there's another one coming out.
Well, this new one coming out, picks up at the end of Harry Potter year 1 through 4, and you wind up doing the rest of it, which is much darker, much more violent.
Less learning, maybe?
I think there's still going to be elements of learning, but I think there's going to be a lot more elements of fighting.
Okay.
Because that's when you have more Voldemort and darker elements of the game.
Maybe you'll like it more, and Amanda will like it a little less.
I think they've enhanced the playability. I have a feeling they do listen. The creators do listen to the responses to people, because what I've seen in early reviews, they've added things that make it a lot more interactive and make it a lot more going on. And they follow the style, the darkness of the movie without making it too overbearing.
And this is supposed to be coming out later this year?
Yeah, later in 2011.
Cool. All right, well, let's wrap this up by talking a little bit about what are some of the franchises that we like, film-wise, that we wish they would bring up in a Lego format, or some that we might know that there's a good chance they might be coming out now, that since certain companies have now merged with other companies. What do you think would be a good idea?
Of stuff that I think is going to come out, I think they will find a way to put out some more Disney products. And they have a tie-in with Disney, so I think they'll explore some of them, some of the more magical type Disney products, as well as some of the more adult themes. I think that knowing that Lego will be dealing with superheroes, we'll see more superheroes overall, either tied into movies that have come out already or are coming out, or just more superhero Lego worlds like they did with Batman. And I would imagine the Star Wars well isn't empty yet. They'll probably go one more game with that. And of things that I would like them to do, but I know they don't hold licenses to, you first think about things that have multiple movies, and they can be tied into children. You're not going to see a James Bond or something because that's more adult. But you might see something like Back to the Future. Now, while that's kind of dated at this point, there's no new product coming out. Specifically, you have to think about things that new product are coming, or sequels, or remakes. That's stuff that is possible.
Well, with the Marvel world, you have an endless supply of characters.
Yeah, I think that's the direction it's going to go, which could wind up killing the whole franchise if they go too nuts. Because if you look at the adult games, there are just endless amounts of superhero games. Spider-Man by himself, Spider-Man teaming up against Superman, Batman versus the world, and I think that can be tough. But I think Disney is the perfect tie-in, and things like Cars, for instance, is a big seller, and they have a toy line of that, and I think they do it. And they could probably, even though we think that it's too childish, I have a feeling they can do Mickey, Minnie type things, those goofy, the Magic Kingdom type Legos, which would let them tie in to make actual Lego toys.
No Prince of Persia?
I don't think we're gonna. I think if it was successful and anybody watched it, maybe.
Which one do you think, Kyle, that you wish they would make?
Well, since Disney had recently its biggest, most promoted movie would have to be Tron Legacy, which came out in December. They should do some Legos on those, well, like a Lego set system. And they should also do the video game where they could have like the light discs and stuff. But, well, they are coming out with Tron 3. It's been officially announced 2013. Bruce Boxleiter announced it at Disney 223.
But at this rate, they haven't even made any toys, so it would be nice if they make the actual toys, and then they could make a video game.
Yeah, but I see the flaw with the video game thing because they already have released other like personal video games. I mean, I also kind of see that with the Marvel one too. If they do like a Marvel solo thing, they would have to do like all the Marvel characters in general.
Yeah, they would probably combine. I don't think they would do... I mean, Batman and Robin... Well, Batman has a lot of characters surrounding the Batman brand, but with Marvel, they could do like X-Men, and they could do Avengers. They could do a lot of
Tron
combinations.
Fits the suit because there's 2 movies already with a third coming. So if they want to do a quick game with some added worlds that we might not have seen, they can put that out with the new product.
But you need the toy first. You can't have a Lego video game without
not necessarily. That's not necessarily true.
Have they done it?
Not really, but it doesn't mean that they won't. But another thing that they could do, which they have put out, if they want to just know guaranteed sellers, things like Toy Story, which has 3 movies. They can create new worlds,
and you target that to young
kids.
That's
who they're targeting, of people like Amanda, for instance.
However,
like that.
However, you will be the first one online getting it.
I probably would.
Same thing with Cars.
Sadly, I probably would.
How about you, Amanda? Any movies you wish they would make some Legos and then Lego video games out of?
It's not Disney, and I don't know what it would look like if they made into Legos. But my favorite movie is Despicable Me, and I would really like it if they made Legos out of that.
Wow, could you imagine all the Minions as little Lego video game characters?
Yeah, they're my second favorite characters.
And Agnes, your favorite doll name from that movie? You never know. Disney's not the only one who messes around with Lego. I mean, obviously you have Lucasfilm, DC,
And we have Marvel, we have DC,
Marvel's coming, so
and we
yeah,
have Warner Brothers too.
there's a lot of different possibilities, so that's cool.
Yeah, another thing I have to say was for Lego Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is Lego Star Wars 3, I thought it was a very nice game. I think it might have been the best Lego game I've actually ever played because you get to have like the arena battles, like you get the prologue where you have like the Geonosis Arena, which is like basically a remake of the one that you had in episode 2. But my favorite part of it would have to be the hub because you get to swap between 2 different ships and you get to like take like a big like space fight to it.
Yeah.
And also I like the ground battles where you have all the tanks, you have to build the stuff, even though James doesn't like it, but I like it a lot. I think it's the best Lego game they've ever made. And they could probably also do, as James said, another Clone Wars one, but they could probably do a set 2 Clone Wars ones.
Who knows? It
Because,
depends on how long the show goes for.
Maybe even 3.
Okay, that's cool. Now let's take a little detour here, and we're going to do a little update. It's almost like a breaking news type of situation here. We've had some time since we recorded the original Lego special to actually purchase a new game that we just talked about, and that is the Harry Potter second part game. What's the proper name of that game, James?
It's Lego Harry Potter years 5 through 7. And it basically picks up with 5, 6, and the 2 7 books. And the first one was Order of the Phoenix. The next one is Half-Blood Prince. And then the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2. And like I said about Harry Potter's years 1 through 4, which I liked, but, I didn't love, this has corrected some of the problems. And now the game seems to understand people needed more than just looking for things or breaking things. With this one, you can actually do some fighting, and that's probably because the style of the movies got a little darker, and it turned out now people are actually fighting and attacking each other and defending each other rather than just learning magic. So the problems of the first one have kind of been corrected, and I felt better that now when you meet up with an opponent, you're not just pushing him back or throwing a spell on him that makes his head grow or something like that. This time you're actually finding a way to attack him and beat him or defend yourself against him. And the manner in which that takes place is you have the same spells that you've learned already, but if the opponent, say Drago Malfoy's character, or even if you get to Voldemort, which we know will happen, he will throw a spell at you which is represented by the color yellow, let's say, or purple or orange. And while he's shooting that, you have to stop him, but you have to toggle around to shoot orange back at him. And then it's a matter of pressing one of the buttons on the remote faster than the enemy character is pressing it technically against you.
So one of the things we mentioned before was that the first game was more about learning and training. So you do feel that this game is now you actually get to use all this training from the first game?
Yeah, I think it's been a couple years now since I first played the first part of the game, and I'm remembering how to do things and some of the spells and what they did. And for instance, Lumos is a light, and they use it in the movie quite often. The tips of their wands would light up. But in this case, it's used for that as well as some other features within the game and opening up things, and it's just an extension of what you've learned already. Same thing with a couple of the other ones, blowing up certain things. And the magic is similar. You have to build things with magic, whereas in Star Wars games you built it with the Jedi powers, which we had talked about. This, it uses, magic from your wand. But there's also, just like in Star Wars, now that we're encountering more dark magicians like Voldemort and his crew and the Death Eaters and the Malfoys, so there'll be the same features where the Sith were able to do certain things on the Star Wars Lego games. The dark magicians are able to open certain things here.
Now, how do you feel about the transition between the first game and the second game? In other words, I know when we talked about Star Wars, there was some jarring transitions between certain games where all of a sudden the rules are a little different, things work differently or staged differently. Is this a very smooth transition?
I had worried about this one because I like the format of this game, the Star Wars games, the Batman games, where you have a hub and then you go off into the adventure based on where you start from in the hub. This one, Harry Potter, was always a little bit different. Your hub is basically Hogwarts, and all the things start out from Hogwarts. But in addition to that, there's a pub in Hogsmeade. It's either Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley or something like that.
Okay.
But I think it's actually, now that I think of it, it's Diagon Alley. but that's still kind of a hub. Once you've done all the things that they send you through, you can go off on your own for the free play mode from that hub. But it's actually very smart how they do it. You're wandering around Hogwarts looking for things that are part of the success of the game, in addition to doing the scenes from the movie. That's the one thing I did like about the game, and I was worried because I read that this one was going to follow the Indiana Jones 2.
That's a little
They
scary.
call it the engine in which the game is run by, and they said Indiana Jones 2, and I said, uh-oh, because that means everything is going to be just
a free-for-all.
a free-for-all, and nobody really loved that, I don't think. I didn't.
Another thing that I'm interested in is similar to how they did with the Star Wars Lego game, that at one point they released everything in one package. Do you think this has the potential to be re-released all together, all the movies together, and maybe some other material to kind of give you a bonus?
You know, it definitely has the elements for it, and I thought about it. But where Star Wars had movies coming out and there seemed to be more product, Harry Potter, basically now that this game and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 has come out on DVD,
Right.
and the movies are basically done, the books are basically done, I'd find it hard for them to do it without any support product to get people to get excited about it.
Without having to spend money for something they already
Because
own.
these games now, you can buy 1 and 2 from most game stores. You can buy part 1 for like $20 now, especially around a holiday or something where people are trading in games. So I find it, with Star Wars, it's been around for 35 years almost. So you can kind of put Star Wars stuff out anytime and people will respond. I'm not sure what the future holds for Harry Potter. People will still like it and be excited about it, and kids will read the books. But without new movies or other product coming out, it's hard to justify them putting these two into one big package other than selling them bundled together, because the game picks up almost right where the other game leaves off. So it's like it's one game if you were to play them both. That's what I liked about it. It picked up seamlessly. A lot of the places you've opened up in the first one, they use the same look, but from different angles. And I was really impressed. Like I said, I wanted this one to be good because I like the Harry Potter franchise, and I didn't want this to fall apart because of like Indiana Jones did.
So even though you're not completely done with the game yet, you're satisfied with what you have?
Yeah, I've played the Order of the Phoenix, and I've played almost to the end where Dumbledore meets his end in Half-Blood Prince. And I've been very impressed how they stayed with the story. They Lego-fied it because these are the darker stories. And you assume children who are under 10, let's say, even if they've read the book, the parents might not have taken them to the movies yet. They can get the gist of it and not be scared or have, people dying, tragically and stuff like that with, dark magic. So I think they made it kiddie enough, but not so much so that a grown man like myself would feel like I was playing a children's game. And then children wouldn't feel like they're playing something too hard. That's actually something I did notice. I feel that Lego Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, was the hardest one, I think. Maybe Batman had some hard elements in it too, but I do believe they've responded to who their audience is. And probably in the beginning they figured it'd be a mix. I think they have made certain puzzles easier.
Yeah.
I recall, as I said earlier, I couldn't finish Lego Star Wars, the prequel trilogy, for 6 months. I put it away. I came back, as I said in the previous episode. This one, it's still sometimes confusing for for an adult. I think kids respond to how these puzzles work better, especially gamers. But if I realize, look, there has to be an answer, it's a lot easier. It feels easier. Now, I don't know if that's just practice now because I've played more of these games, but I think they've just made it slightly easier overall. So people aren't struggling. I don't know how to open this. I can't get past this board. They want you to get past the board. They're not trying to trick you. This isn't, Call of Duty or something where they're,
They want you to finish the game so you can then buy something else.
Yeah,
it's not
and-
like
and
a
obviously-
never-ending light bulb.
And since you mentioned that, obviously this whole thing is a tie-in with the Lego products. And it's really great the way they've made some of the sets and characters into the Lego world. And I wish they would make more of these environments and some of these characters. There are characters they haven't ever made as Legos yet for the building sets. And I really like, what they've done and some of the,
Well,
the dark characters and things. They never get to them, and they might never because, like I said, there's no new movies coming out.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about another bit of information that we've got, is that there's actually been another officially announced Lego game that comes from a movie franchise or, some kind of film-related thing. Tell us about the next one we just heard about.
Yeah, this is good news, especially for me. I think Kyle liked it too. The new Batman movie is coming out in the summer of 2012. And in addition to that, there'll be new Lego adventure play sets, building sets based on Batman and the superheroes of DC in general. And I know now for a fact they will be making, in time for the Batman movie in the summer, Lego Batman 2 DC Heroes. So my guess is it's going to be a sequel to what we know already, where Batman will be the focus, and then he will either wind up meeting with and fighting other DC superheroes or other DC supervillains. Like, I would bet you he'll team up at some point with or against Superman. Then Superman will be an unlockable Green Lantern, other Justice League type characters, and then maybe they'll meet up with other characters like Lex Luthor. Or the other scenario could be Batman will get you started, and then there'll be individual boards that utilize these other superheroes, and then they'll all merge at the end, either for a big, battle royale or against each other. You'll be Batman versus beating up Superman. Anything is possible, but I really have high hopes for that one because I love the Batman, as we know.
Well, if they specifically try to tie it into the next Batman film, I would love it if they actually incorporate the look and the characters, the costumes, of these iconic film characters, because so far the ones they've used are more traditional comic book. You could even say it's the television Batman.
Yeah.
It's the classic Batman look.
They did that on purpose, and I know for a fact when the Batman building sets came out, they avoided getting too heavy into the Batman movies because the first two Chris Nolan Batman movies were much darker and not really kid friendly. They're kids I'm sure went crazy for it. There's a lot of heavy stuff in it, and Lego didn't want to go down that trail, especially not having never made Batman yet. Keep it more generic.
Right.
And they did make some loosely based toy sets on it. The tumbler was kind of from the movie, only you knew where that came from. It was the Chris Nolan tumbler, but they didn't have all the peripheral stuff.
Right, that's more for collectors.
The Scarecrow in the Lego world was a little more friendly than the Scarecrow in the movie, the Joker was more of the TV Mark Hamill Joker rather than, the
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger, exactly. I have high hopes for that. I like to know when I'm on one game, when I finish it, that there's something in the future, even if it's a year away, because this has been going on now for about 6 years. And it's been fun, so I'm looking forward to it.
So
Plus
that's
the
good
set,
news.
The sets, the whole thing is going to be a nice tie-in with that movie. And if that's the last Batman movie for a while in this Nolan world, it'll be a good tie-in to give him some credit in the Lego world as well.
Yeah, that's definitely good news, especially when they continue on a line that's already successful and that people enjoy playing. Now, one of the other things we have talked about was the future and the rumors and what we wish they would add. Tell us about this last rumor that you've heard that would be awesome if they did.
Well, like I said, I like to know what's coming down the line, so I have something, okay, I accomplished this in 6 months, in a year. 2011 was an excellent year because we got a new Star Wars and we got a new Pirates of the Caribbean, and now at the end of the year we got a new Harry Potter. So it was really a good year in terms of if you're a Lego movie fan. But now, coming out at the end of 2012 should be a new Peter Jackson series of The Hobbit. I believe it's 2 movies. So the educated rumor, and it's even supposedly been confirmed unofficially by Traveler's Tales employees or representatives, that the Lord of the Rings / Hobbit Lego game will be released, which has amazing potential.
Here's one sign that it might be happening. If we start hearing rumors or start to see some pictures, let's say, of the toy.
Yes, and that's the other. There's supposed to be that as well. And
once you see one, the other one is right around the corner.
Well, think about what they've made already. Indiana Jones has the sets that appear like in a jungle. They have some sets like that. Some of the Star Wars sets have that jungle feel and adventure. Yeah. So the elements kind of exist for this to work. The Lego series make a kingdom set, which involves castles and things. So all this makes sense, and it's not so violent or heavy that children would not participate. And The Lord of the Rings is now part of our world.
Right.
People understand it. It's literary as well as on screen and TV. So this would be perfect. And there's so much there. That's what you look for, I think, as a fan of a Lego game. Does it have enough? The first Indiana Jones was my problem. It was wonderful, but it was only 3 movies, and they didn't give you too much. This would be 5 movies, and they're big movies. They have a lot to play with here. That's a thing that they could make a part 1 and a part 2 easily. They could do The Hobbit first and then go back and make The Lord of the Rings. They could start with The Lord of the Rings and then make The Hobbit game after the 2 movies have come out back to back, I think a year apart. And I'm not even a huge fan of The Lord of the Rings series. I like them, but I would be really thrilled to know this was coming.
It seems like a perfect thing for kids because it's that fantasy world. It's that Harry Potter-ish aspect of fantasy that Lord of the Rings is built on.
Definitely would be something I wouldn't be surprised and I wouldn't be disappointed at all. And I try to think of other movies. We've talked about it in the last one, what it could be, but that just seems so obvious
Perfect
now.
for it.
And if they were especially got the rights.
Now, again, this is rumors. I really hope it happens, because if it does, it would be perfect for this particular brand. Now, James, tell me about their other Lego video games that are not necessarily movie related. There's not a lot of them, but just so our audience understands that we are not ignoring these, they're just not that tied into the films. Tell us about the ones you know.
Well, as we talked about the last one, Lego has always tried to be in the game world. Sometimes successful in the ones we've talked about, sometimes not so much with the Lego creator type things. But Lego made one other game tied in with the gaming music sets. So they made Lego Rock Band. So bringing it up, you'd say, why do you bring it up? This isn't a movie. This isn't a genre movie. But within the game, they have unlockables of different real rock bands like Queen, David Bowie. But they also have an unlockable of Spinal Tap, which was a 1984 movie about a fictional hard rock band.
Loophole.
And so I have the ability to talk about another genre type game because it is such a cult classic. And in the game, Nigel Tufnell's guitar does go to 11.
Wow. Okay, so I guess we could sneak that one in.
Yeah. Lego is trying to branch off. Next year, they are trying to take the game engines that we were talking about and use their own products to try to turn them into a video game. Early in 2012 is something called Lego City Stories. And my bet is instead of Luke Skywalker or Harry Potter and these guys, they're going to use their sets. So there'll be a police adventure, a fire adventure, an airport adventure to tie in with the various sets that they actually sell. You can expect there would be some unlockables and some surprises, and suddenly
Especially
there's
the
Chewbacca.
the properties they own themselves.
There'll be things. I mean, it might be tough exactly because of the copyright, but if they can work in little surprises or unlockables, I think that's still in the same format, so we can include it a little bit.
All right, well, that's good to know. Well, that about wraps it up for our look at the world of Lego-themed video games. Hopefully, they'll have some new ones coming out, and I'd like to thank Kyle, Amanda, and James for joining us and giving us all of their expertise on these games from different perspectives, from younger kids to older kids to really big kids. And hopefully pretty soon we'll see some new ones, because as you can tell by our predictions, there's lots of places they can go with existing franchises, and I'm sure sooner or later you're going to see new ones, because these type of things don't end. They just keep going until you beat them to the ground. So there's more stuff coming, I'm pretty sure of it. Well, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you here next time on Geekfest Rants.
This summer, the world's biggest adventure just got a whole lot smaller. Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game. The legend builds as you play through all 4 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, including the second chapter, Dead Man's Chest, Lego style. From the island of tribal warriors to the Flying Dutchman. Join Captain Jack as Davy Jones unleashes the Kraken to collect his debt. Then continue the journey all the way to the all-new On Stranger Tides. Plus, you can team up with your mates for amazing co-op action. Set your course. Live the adventure. Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, the video game.
Stop.